Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the IMTS in Chicago. We'll do a podcast here with Stuart from Engine. We're going to learn what Engine is about. It's a super cluster that was created only 6 years ago. It grew up really fast and strong to help Canadian to get stronger together towards competitors' nation. So I think there's a lot that you guys should learn about how these guys can help you and help us to help each other. So have a good podcast. So Stuart, maybe first thing first, go with maybe a bit of a background so people get to know you, and maybe end up with what leads you to Engine these days.
Okay. Well, let me start by telling you guys who NGen is in case you don't know. NGen, or Next Generation Manufacturing Canada, is one of the 5 global innovation clusters funded by the Canadian government to help Canadian industry grow. And our charter is to build world-class advanced manufacturing capabilities in Canada for the benefit of Canadians.
Sure.
Manufacturing is very, very important to our economy. It's around 10% of our gross domestic product. About 1.7 million Canadians work in manufacturing. And so very, very important to Canada. And so our mission is to help. And so that's who we are. We do a couple different kinds of things. We do projects where we co-fund advanced technology programs with groups of Canadian manufacturers, and we issue challenges for specific problems for solution, and we will support Canadian manufacturers with grants if they are successful in their proposals. And we win programs, which is my part of NGen.
Okay.
And in our programs, what we're trying to do is solve problems for lots of Canadian manufacturers. And so we...
One initiative that will impact so many company at the same time.
Exactly. So we look at workforce and skills,
Okay.
and say, okay, what do we need to do to have our workforce ready? We look at leadership and transformation because we know that our companies are under a lot of pressure to do different things and to do things differently.
Definitely, absolutely. The
And
business
so-
model are changing. There is new tools. Next generation are asking for new things as well on the shop floor.
Exactly. And so we build a program we call the Transformation Leadership Program to help companies come together and find alignment and clarity around their own strategy. And we do things like cluster building, and I'm excited to talk about cluster building today. Now, my background is really quite mixed in that
It's an eclectic background.
I'm on my 3rd career, I say, and this is what happens when you get old and you've been working for a while. And so I started as an aerospace engineer in the U.S., and I became a research engineer, and I did a lot of research on composite materials, in particular in application to military aircraft.
Okay.
I did a lot of work then on how do you take technology and move it from the laboratory into production very, very quickly, which was our training. And then I got the privilege of helping to design the F-35 as a Northrop employee.
Wow.
So lots of really cool stuff in working in aerospace, and very, very exciting. I mean, there's nothing, I think, neater than working on an advanced military aircraft. But when I left Northrop, I became ultimately a CEO of small manufacturers. And
Okay.
what I was really focused on there is, okay, what does a small manufacturer have to do to be successful in growing its business with big companies like the ones I had worked for? And how does a small company play big? What do you need to do? And how do you approach things? And so I became very, very focused on, one, technology and manufacturing and how to deploy it profitably. 2, process. How do you control process to make things happen very quickly if you don't have a lot of money, and you certainly don't have the time or luxury to make a bad decision on technology?
The measurement, the control of the process itself.
And so for me, what I love about my role at NGen is I get to give back, and now I get to share some of my experience and tell people where I made mistakes, which is always interesting to everybody. and I made enough to talk about.
To learn a lot about it, about them.
But I also get to see amazing companies in Canada, and I see amazing technologies, and we get to meet so many brilliant people in Canadian manufacturing, and so the job is really very, very satisfying. It's just good to be in a position where you feel like you're giving something back.
You're giving back the experience you had, and I think it's truly needed, especially in the Canadian market, because I'm under the impression that there's a lot of innovation in Canada. You know, we have a lot of research development, very good university, and we come out with good idea, but too quick and too often these business move out from Canada and they go in Silicon Valley. They go to anywhere else in the world. But we need to work and help them to stay in Canada and do not only the startup, but the lean up, the other expansion of the business in Canada. So I think it's a matter of money. Investment, of course, and accessibility to market, but I'm sure that there is a way around to for more of these companies to stay in Canada. But having advice from people that work in big company, how to be not presentable to them, but how to be serious, structure, so you have the trust of these companies. I think it's truly important. What is one of the best advice you had in your career, Stuart? So you came from the big company working in small, medium size. What is one of the best advice you had when you were working in the small, medium size? How to deal, because it's a different culture, it's a different organization. People have many hats from time to time. So what is one of the best advice you had as a CEO there?
Be curious. Always try to understand why things are being done, and start with why. Don't start with, if you have a problem, know the problem before you know the answer. And a lot of times people start with an answer in mind. They already think they've solved the problem. They may not have solved the right problem. And so I think the best advice, and what I always taught, is assume people are smart, but don't assume you understand what they mean until you ask a lot of questions, and then you'll understand, and then go forward together.
Okay. I like it. It makes sense. So you were this kind of CEO that would go on the shop floor itself, do kind of your Gemba walk there, to walk the shop floor and ask questions and be interested, and so on. That is perfect. Getting back to Engine, you told us the three different area where you guys are working. Talking about the cluster. Anything special, new activities that you guys will come out with in the year to come? What are the initiative that you are working on?
That's a great question, and I'm so glad you asked.
It was not made up in advance.
No, there's been no collusion. We have just rolled out our cluster accelerator funding, and if you go to our website,
what is it exactly for the people that don't know exactly I'm sure some of the people are not sure exactly what a cluster is and the main purpose. So let's get back to basic, Mike.
Okay, why don't we take a step back then? The first thing I would say is NGen believes that collaboration between companies is essential for success. We also believe that Canadian companies are only going to be competitive and successful in the future if they are functioning as a part of Canadian value chains.
Great.
And those value chains have to be well integrated. They have to be very strong. If we can't compete at a value chain level, it won't matter if we have great little companies or even our bigger companies. If they don't have good supply chains, they can't compete.
Because they're gonna look weak at some point.
They will be weak. They'll be slow. They will be inefficient. They won't be competitive. When we look at then small companies, and we're a country of small manufacturers, we want them to come together to help each other. And so one of the things that our CEO challenged us to do in our strategic plans when we started was to support clusters across Canada. And so a cluster in our in our thinking, a cluster is just a group of manufacturers who have joined and created a separate organization, typically a not-for-profit,
Okay.
that will promote their combined and shared interests. And that is then it's a business collaboration to accomplish objectives. And
Okay.
we were initially called a super cluster and then a global innovation cluster. But these are clusters. A more traditional cluster is local
Yeah.
and is
I know a lot of them in Quebec province. I have so many name in my mind. So, but you guys with as a super cluster are helping them.
we're trying to build a cluster of clusters.
Okay.
And so what we're trying to do then is support existing clusters of manufacturers and also help other groups of manufacturers who have found an opportunity for shared growth to start up a new cluster. And so we call that the NGen Cluster Accelerator.
Okay.
And we've been supporting clusters now for 4 years. We have a network of about 24 clusters have now joined the NGen Cluster Accelerator network. We've funded, many of them have been funded by NGen, but not all. There's value just in the collaborations. And we've actually gone out and started up, I believe it's 9 different clusters across Canada from zero with NGen support. And so for us, we think this is essential. These clusters can come together then to solve many different types of problems on behalf of their members, but 5 small companies can be stronger than 1 medium-sized company,
Absolutely.
and 100 small companies can move the world. And so we've rolled out now our next iteration of our Cluster Accelerator funding. And in fact, our information session for companies interested in potentially bidding for the funding is next Wednesday, September 18th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time.
Okay, so I'm really on
next
point with this question.
And so
Okay.
you can go to our website, ngen.ca, and you'll find in the moving banner of the things we do, you'll find Cluster Accelerator. And if you click on the button, you'll find the website, which will tell you more about the funding, and you'll be able to register for the info session. And then we expect the project intake portal to open in early October, and
Okay.
we're hoping to actually award cluster contracts later in 2024.
Okay, great. You can say pass to my next question, okay? Yeah, you have a special card, like, you don't need to answer. How do you measure success in a cluster?
You know, we really, it's not, NGen measures success by bringing Canadians together, and we measure success by growing companies towards one another. The clusters, for each cluster project will have its own mission,
Okay.
and it's being supported by and ultimately funded by the membership fees of its members.
Sure.
We don't tell them what their mission should be. We support a number of different missions that we think are, in broad strokes, supporting Canadian manufacturing, which is aligned with our charter. But the one thing we don't tell them to is
change their nature.
This is how you are successful. So what we will do in a project is, in their proposal, we'll say, tell us what you want to do and why. Tell us the impacts you think it will have on your members. Tell us the impacts you think it'll have on Canada. Tell us how you're going to do it, and tell us what the risks are and how you'll address them. But it's a very simple application. It's 3 to 4 pages.
Okay.
English or French.
Sure.
We will assess French language projects in French. It'll be a juried process. We expect it to be very competitive, and the assessors will be independent experts who will then score the proposals. But then the only question is, okay, if you've given us a proposal and the proposal's been selected for funding, then what we're going to want you to do is tell us how you performed on the things that you told us you were going to do. So we have a number of different types of cluster projects that we're interested in. We're interested in cluster projects that are coming, where companies are coming together for technology deployment and to advance their technologies. We're interested in cluster projects that are
The art tech as well, I guess. with
Yeah, hard tech, like we do have clusters that are all about
microchip is
Right.
kind of a huge topic these days, especially with what's happening with Taiwan and so on. So I guess there is interest into that as well.
they'd be interested in that. We have an additive manufacturing cluster. We have automation clusters. So we're interested in clusters that are looking at technology.
Okay.
We're interested in clusters that are looking at growing revenues and sales and exports, trade-facing clusters. We're interested in clusters that are looking at workforce and how
Okay.
to bring skills to their members. We're interested in clusters that are looking at sustainability and how
So
we
it's a
get.
pretty wide
Yeah.
target that you guys have. But all of these topics would, at the end of the day, help Canada to get better, to get stronger compared to the competitive nations. So
Absolutely, and that's what we're really looking for. So most of the projects we've supported address one or more, or sometimes all of those different aspects.
okay,
We have projects then for startup, and the startup funding projects are set up so that if a group of SMEs comes together, and it has to be 5 or more, and they say, we think we want to investigate starting a cluster in this area, they don't even have to have put it together yet. They can get a stage 1 grant to give them about $20,000 to get started, and then
Okay.
they hit some milestones for that, and
and,
more money
and
is
you
released.
give them some, you accompany them and to the how to get set up, organized, and do you have a service to accelerate the creation of a new cluster?
No, we actually
No?
don't. No, we don't.
Okay.
We don't provide that kind of service.
Okay.
Yeah, I have sorry. I have a question. If I'm a non-profit organization with a lot of manufacturer member, and I'm interested to join the force, the cluster force, I have to renew every year, or it's for
It's a marriage for a long, no,
yeah.
X
What is
amount of years.
the implication about the association was interested about the super cluster, and he deposed the project this year.
These are 12-month projects.
12
and
month.
They're maximum $100,000 grant. They have to be matched 1.5 to 1 with industry funding, which can be salaries of the people involved and things like
Okay.
that. But what we're looking for is really a focused projects with a specific mission, and then we say, okay, do the project and complete it, and then if we have another project, I'll do another
We'll
project.
see.
Okay.
But it's almost like a continuous improvement mentality. Do something very quickly, make it better, and then come back and do it again.
Sure.
good.
And
It's
then,
an agile way of looking at it.
and to more clearly answer the question about help, we'll help in that we'll answer questions. We're very careful. We don't sell services to the people we fund, so we wouldn't say, okay, now you can hire us as a
No,
consultant.
That's what we need.
I like it. Yeah,
So,
We really want to say, okay, we are objectively here to help you,
sure.
and we're not trying to get you to buy a package from us.
There is nothing behind it.
right.
That was the purpose of my question,
But-
to see,
Yeah.
the intention, the full, how do you accompany them and so on. But no, and it's really to create new opportunity so people can get together in Canada. Is there any other things at Engines you guys are talking about these days? Anything that will regroup you guys, or so? What's in the next year to come?
Oh, lots going on in NGen all the time. So right now we have a couple challenges open for project funding, including an affordable manufactured housing challenge. And you can
I
go
heard
to our
about that. I
website.
spoke with John there. I think you guys have an envelope of about, correct me if I'm wrong, 50 million to help manufacturer in the home building. Is that it?
That sounds about right. It's
Okay,
and-
approximately.
And that one is really exciting.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're very excited about is Hanover Messe 2025.
Of
And
course.
So Hanover Messe is the world's largest advanced manufacturing show. It's held every year in Hanover, Germany. And NGen has been taking Canadians to Hanover Messe for 4 years or 5 years now.
Okay,
And it's an amazing show. It is massive.
I confirm. It is amazing.
And you'll see some of the most brilliant technology in the world there. One thing that I found and I was pleased to see is when Canadian companies go, our technology is as good as everyone else's. We are world-class technologists.
Sure.
But every year we bring more. And then the way Hanover Messe is run, there is a co-host country. And the co-host country then is highlighted, and there's a national pavilion and
Sure.
opening ceremonies, and their manufacturers are showcased. And we're really, really proud that next year Canada will be the co-host country for Hanover Messe. And it's our way as a nation of telling the world how good we are at manufacturing. And so you can find out more if you want to join us. We expect 800 Canadians to join us in Germany next year, and we have supports to help companies come and to exhibit. And there'll be lots of chances for the Canadian companies to also talk to each other and tell each other what they do, because as much as you're out there talking to the world, you're also talking to Canada, and you're talking to the smartest, most progressive thinking companies in Canada in manufacturing. And so if you're a smart, progressive manufacturer who's doing brilliant technology work, these are probably your customers.
You
So
have to be there.
You have to be there. And
Sure.
we are very, very excited about it and very proud that, Canada is doing this, because it's a national affirmation that we are a world-class manufacturing nation, which we are.
We are
And
strong. We are there. It's going to get even better, and we'll
it's-
work together as Canadian.
Absolutely. And so we're very excited. And again, come to our website, engen.ca. You'll find information. You can join Engen. It's free of charge. We don't charge for membership. It'll take you 10 minutes, and you'll get our newsletter where you'll hear about all of the programming we offer, and funding grants and training grants and everything we can do. And we're always helping to make introductions and to make connections, because we
Absolutely.
believe strongly in collaboration in Canada. So
And you have people in pretty much not every, but most of the provinces. Because I know, let's say in Quebec, you have at least 4 person, I believe so.
6, I
6?
think.
Yeah, it's more and more. It looks like it to me.
Yeah, we are a Canadian organization. Although our home base is in
Ontario?
Hamilton,
Hamilton, yeah.
our team is from everywhere, and as far as we're concerned, we're all Canadians, and our mission is to
Cover the whole country.
cover and support the whole country, and to make our business together bigger.
It's really, really neat. Getting back to what you were saying about Hanover Messe, it was one of my conclusions. We need to get out of the country to get to know each other. I had the opportunity, and I want to send a kudo to Engen for last year, because I was part of the group that you guys have organized with evenings, with the whole setup. We even had cookies, milk, everything was. We were very well taken care of, and anybody from Canada that is thinking about going next year, stop thinking you should be there if you have progressive thinking, but be part of the delegation. It changed everything. It was my first experience in Hanover Messe last year. I think, Benoit, you've been there 5 times.
6 times.
6
7
times?
next year.
So it's going to be 7. So we confirm we will be there next year. That's for sure. It's a much better and rich experience when you're part of a delegation, because you're going to get to know and meet other Canadian there. So very welcoming. Let's say we have the discussion about how people should work together as a country and so on. If we have the chance, Stuart, to invite a 4th person with us on the podcast right now, and then just click my fingers and he appears. Who would you like to invite to pursue this discussion about the future in manufacturing in Canada?
I'd love to have our CEO here.
Jay?
Jay.
Okay.
Yeah, Jay has a vision for Canadian manufacturing. I mean, Engen is only 6 years old, and it amazes me just how effectively we've been able to deploy. And for everything I've shared with you, Jay would put more brilliance and energy
It would
into it.
enhance all of these
he's,
things.
yeah.
What would be the one question? And since you work with Jay, so you have a lot of interaction with him. But what would be the one question we should ask Jay?
What's coming next, Jay?
Because he's the CEO, the visionary of
He's-
Engine. So what's coming up? What's next?
Yeah, Jay is always looking ahead, and he keeps us on our toes because he's always looking ahead. But
And
yeah,
curious and asking why and pushing and challenging the ideas and everything. But I fully agree with you. 6 years is not that much, so it went kind of fast for you guys to grow up the organization and have an impact. Because I think permanently, how many employees there within Engine?
I think 45.
45. It's quite impressive in 6 years how fast it grows. Let's say, Stuart, we have a lot of fun, and tonight we decide the three of us will go for a whiskey here in Chicago in a jazz bar, and walking down the street, I find out a magic stick. And since I'm a generous person, I give it to you, Stuart. And with this magic stick, you can do anything in one wish. Bam. Time, money is not a roadblock. Anything. What would you change, either at the country level or within Engine, with that wish, to improve the mission of Engine?
What I would love to change is I would love to change Canadians' thinking about ourselves as a manufacturing nation.
Okay.
Why not be the best? We are world-class innovators. We're world-class in research. We need to do much, much better at keeping our technology in our country, keeping our brightest kids in our country, and converting all of our brilliance to Canadian exports and growing our economy. We should not ever be apologetic about our manufacturers.
Be proud of it. Proud of it.
Absolutely.
Be proud of it.
Be proud of it, because we really are quite good. And the Canadian technology I've gotten to see on this show, and I visited 42 Canadian exhibitors here at IMTS, world class.
It is.
Yeah.
And too often not well known and recognized. One of the things that stood up my mind is Rémi Duquette. I don't know if you know him from Maya HTT. Rémi Duquette, no? Nice guy. Next time I see you and he'll be around, I'll present him to you. And talking with Rémi in their company, they have, I don't remember how many product that is embedded.
More than 20
More than
on
20
the Siemens.
on
architect-
Siemens architecture and all of their stack of technology and so on. He told me, the hover going on Mars was it just stopped, and the engineer from Siemens and all of these guys were trying to figure out, a way to get it back up and running. And this was these guys from Canada that took the gearbox, created some sort of a digital twin of it, find out the way and what was the problem. They sent out a patch, an update, and they were able to get it back up and running. But these guys were working on this Hoover, but as a tier 2 maybe. So nobody knew much of it. Their logo is not stamped on the Hoover. So they are, and I told them, you guys will need to stop to be a submarine of the industry. Thinking about being proud and so on. You need to stop being a submarine, but, very exciting company, Maya HTT. I'll have them speaking with you. You'll be amazed, I'm sure.
I'll look forward to that. And thank you for this. It's been a great conversation.
Great. So thanks for the podcast, Stuart. Have a good rest of the show. See you soon. And in Hanover Mess, that's for sure.
Yeah, sounds good.